Question 5. One issue that has been in the public debate over the last few months has been that of different possible types of public transit in the city. What specific plans would you pursue to move Ogden citizens around the city?
I think about 10 days ago, maybe a week or 10 days, and Susie may know better than I the exact date, we submitted a whole host of plans and different information on different transit options for the community. About a month and a half ago, we sat down as a council and administration and realized that we had never had a discussion about all the different routes of transit opportunities and the kinds of transit. There's some really innovative new transit technologies that we need to be taking a look at. And so we put a comprehensive kind of package together to look at different routes and places where we could have transit to take people throughout the community, and then the different kinds of transit that you can use. And we're just waiting for the city council to set a date, and I'm sure it will happen in the next week or so, that we're going to sit down, or two. We don't know. She's not in leadership, and I don't have any control either. So hopefully in the next week or so, we'll have this meeting where we sit down and we go through all the different routes where transit could go, and we'll talk about even the kinds of technologies. What I believe will emerge from that is that we are going to start with a transit system that loops around downtown. We also have to realize that funding for transit happens on a county level. So we can't just talk about Ogden ourselves and say we're going to do a transit system that is self-contained in Ogden City. Because the funding comes from Weber County as a whole. And so if the entire county isn't on board, it's not going to happen. And so I think the system that for me makes the most sense is one that would probably be a rail system, streetcar. Maybe there's a new technology that's called SWIMO that might work really well, where it's a rail system that would loop around downtown and then go out to connect Newgate Mall, and that was actually the suggestion of one of the council members, connect Newgate Mall out to Riverdale and then to Roy. Riverdale Road has some serious congestion issues. You're probably unaware of that. But I think that kind of a system would have broad appeal for the county as a whole, and it would help us build more density downtown. And that's really what you want with transit, is we want to make it easy for you to find your way downtown and get back and forth to main hubs. And so I think linking downtown to some of the big box shopping that is in Ogden at the Newgate Mall is really important. So we're looking forward to having this discussion with the council over the next week. And what we talked about is forming a plan, and then we'll use some of the UTA study money to help us make the next steps after that to develop a solid transit plan for the community, identify funding, and there'll be a lot of public input in this process as well to make sure we develop a plan that not only looks good on paper, but is one that works well for you.
The major question I would have, Mr. Godfrey, is, are we going to use the $250,000 that was circumvented away from the city council that was going to a bus? It's going to put massive, it just goes on and on and on. I guess the thing that I am most concerned about here is there's no communication. We have not sat down and had honest discussions about the transportation needs of Ogden and how we are going to afford to pay for them. They're going to be very expensive. We know it. If we don't get on board now, and I mean now, we're going to be one of the last cities in the United States that's going to get mass transit. And when I say mass transit, it's streetcar. We can do it for 20% on the city side. There's lots and lots of people that are out there. There are lots of companies out there that can help us do this. They can help us build centers around the hubs of where these streetcars are going to stop. And Weber State, to me, is very essential, because if we come in on the front runner downtown, how do you get students from there to here as quickly and as cheaply as possible?
Well, I couldn't agree more that we need to have more meetings. We actually met with the City Council in May and then again in June and talked about transit. We had a meeting in August again, and then we're hoping to have a meeting this month on transit and launch it. So we're very much hoping to have more discussion about it and invite the community in to talk about what are the transit needs that you have. And we have to make sure, once again, that it fits into the UTA scope, because they'll be the ultimate funding source. Weber County residents as a whole need to be happy. So we need to be talking about a Weber County plan and not just something that's good for Ogden City.